Long Island's FM alternative.
You know I'm a dreamer.
The worst chair that we have here.
That sounds good.
Why don't you leave the word habitat?
So I will come home.
Wow.
When things went right, doesn't
You're on.
When I was on.
just one more night, and I'm coming on this long winding road.
Home, sweet home. 90.3 FM, WHPC. The one and only Motley Crue, which was the song that Mike Piazza came into Citi Field on Saturday as his number was retired. Welcome to From the Pressbox. My name is Rob Leonard, and joining me, of course, is award-winning sports writer Tim Leonard. And
how are you?
How you doing, brother? I'm glad you're here. And
I'm good.
Good to hear. Saturday.
Where else would I be on Monday at 10 o'clock?
I don't know. Where else would you be? On Saturday, the Mets, I guess, did something right.
They did it right. I enjoyed the ceremony. It was a bad week. It was a bad weekend on the field, but off the field, they did a nice job because the ceremony with Mike Piazza, I thought was very well done. For anybody who didn't see it, Piazza actually they started the ceremony actually with Piazza out in the parking lot. Right. Because there is a designated spot in the parking lot where the old home plate used to be at Shea Stadium. Right. And Piazza started, he was actually crouched down and had his hand on where they have the plaque in the ground for the old home plate, and then he got up and came walking towards Citi Field, and took him a little while to get there, but he's got a little. Well,
it was also a little show because he opens the door to the dugout and then it turns all white and then he walks out.
Yeah, so he was waiting there obviously, but it was nice theater, and it made for some nice reminiscing for Met fans to see Piazza where Met fans knew him, because obviously he never played Citi Field for the Mets, so. It was nice. I mean, obviously the weather could have been a little bit better, but that's just quibbling.
That is quibbling, but it was a rainy weekend anyway. One thing I thought was really cool is that they brought out a couple of his players they played with, Eduardo Alfonso, Al Leiter, Cliff Floyd. But I was like, well, where's Johnny Franco? Where's a couple of the other guys?
I thought Franco was there.
He was. I don't know.
Piazza
made
a reference to him in his speech, and he turned around and said, "Thank you for giving me number 31." So,
I didn't see him on the field.
I only watched a little bit of the ceremony because I got a phone call at that point.
That was from me.
So, but it distracted me a bit. But I thought Franco was there somewhere.
Maybe he was.
I don't know.
But anyway. It was one thing I realized also, just going a little tangent-wise, is that the Mets have yet to do a day for the 2000 and the 1999 team. The 2000 team made the World Series. 1999 team was maybe could have won the World Series if it wasn't with Kenny Rogers. But the Mets haven't done anything for that team. Now, mind you, usually do for a World Series team. But you know what? The Mets haven't had too many of those.
Yeah, but what are you going to do for them? I mean, maybe they'll have the 20th anniversary in 2019. I mean, why is it like a random day? Well, if you pick it out, it's like the 18th anniversary.
No, you should have had it on the 15th. Well, but then I was thinking about maybe they're waiting to retire Piazza's number first and then do it. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. Because those teams, the 99, especially the 2000 team, was a bunch of fun to watch, and both teams were very good. They didn't win the whole thing, but they both had
fun to cover too.
Fun characters, and you covered them. You were working at Bergen Records at the time.
There was some interesting teams.
Yeah, so.
I do miss. I'll say I do miss somebody who was a really good guy. Wasn't the best player in the world, but Darrell Hamilton was part of the team, and unfortunately he's no longer with us. He actually was killed several months ago allegedly by his wife. But what a great guy to deal with he was. Yeah. I mean, he was he was one of those few guys who would actually seem like he enjoyed, you know, just like talking with the press, not even necessarily being interviewed, but just saying, you know, just like the hey, what's up, hey Darryl, how you been, what's going on, you know, and he would be, you know, he liked talking to the press. Always had a smile, always had a good word, you know, never was a jerk, you know, like so many guys are. Another guy, I'll just throw a name out there that people probably barely even know, is a left-handed reliever who used to play for the Yankees by the name of Randy Choate. Great guy with the press. And he was unusual because he's the only major leaguer I ever saw who he actually had, you know, like how you have like a shoe tree for your shoes? Yeah. He had one of those for his caps. So wow. he would like, he had this thing and he would twist it, and it was kind of oval shaped, obviously like a cap, and he would twist it so his caps wouldn't lose their shape. And he put it inside the cap. And it was the first time I saw it, I'm like, Randy, what is that thing? Oh man, got to keep the caps looking good. And I'm like, dude, you can get them free anytime you want. What do you mean? He's like, yeah, but you know, you got your gamer. And I'm like, okay, I don't even want to get into this any more than we are. Well, that's interesting. And the Mets put a little Mike Piazza on the caps and the helmets. And even the tarp. Yeah, the tarp had a big Mike Piazza image on it. Yeah, and Mike had a great line. He sort of paraphrased Tom Hanks, and he said, he said there is crying. He said with apologies to Tom, he said with all due respect to Tom Hanks, there is crying in baseball, and certainly over the course of the last week or so, Mike Piazza has proven that because, you know, obviously he broke down several times during his Hall of Fame speech last week, and I don't recall him breaking down during his speech to the Mets fans. A little bit. But it wasn't like the Hall of Fame. It's a lot less pressure on that speech because it's, you know, it's not. I guess he knows what he says is important, but at the same time, it's not going to be remembered for generations like a Hall of Fame speech. Well, the speech isn't like it was to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean the Hall of Fame speech, word for word, you can find that on YouTube. Right. You can find it on the Hall of Fame website. Right. Every word. Like I once in a while I'll go back and I'll watch Phil Rizzuto's speech. Right. Just because it was hysterical. The fly. The fly and you know, saying basically, you know, saying his wife was quote pretty well built. It was hysterical. And then he's asking White about grits and you know, saying he put the grits in his pocket, and I mean the whole speech was hysterical. But you know, every once in a while I'll go back and take a look at that just because it's probably the best Hall of Fame speech ever. Right. Piazza's was up there though. He had a really good speech. I was very impressed with how he did it. Even though, like I said last week, I thought he read a little bit too much, but he was more relaxed at Citi Field and in front of his home fans. Yeah. It felt like he spoke more just off the cuff and just said what was on his mind and what was in his heart. So from that standpoint, I think that's why it was almost a better speech, just because you knew he was just speaking. I thought it was a great speech. I love the fact that the Mets have moved the retired number so there aren't a lot, to a more well-seen area, a better seen area, I should say. You know, there's a lot of things. The other thing I also liked is that they put him in a cart and he went around the stadium. As slowly as a cart could move. Yeah. I mean, at one point he stood up in the cart and the guy who was driving it like went to grab him. Mike, you're going to fall. It's like, dude, we're moving like not even 1 mile an hour here. Come on. It was very slow, but it was very, very appropriate, and you know, he just took him all the love. The only thing I wish they had done, and I talked about this last week, you know, they talked about all the homers, and they showed a lot of the homers. Of course, they showed the first game back after September 11th. Right. But I still wish they'd show the 2 homers he hit as a Padre, where he got the standing ovation. Wasn't going to happen. Well, you know what? Then you know, if you don't put it in the main story, you know, the SNY should have said, "Yeah, well, here's something a little different. This is how much Met fans love Mike Piazza, that they cheered him as I guarantee you're pretty much the only person who remembers that. How many home runs? How many Dodger home runs did they show on that video? None. Exactly. But that's why it's a Mets retirement ceremony. Yeah, but it's you know, I'm not saying it has to be during the ceremony itself, and I understand why it wasn't there. But during the game, it should have been. Especially, you know, they had him on the 3rd or 4th inning for an inning on SNY, and I'm like, you know what? You know, just this is something different, because how many opposing players get cheered? You know, David Wells got cheered for a little while as when he left the Yankees.
Then he also
Fans
got booed.
loved him. Yeah.
But he also got booed too, and he got angry.
Well, when he came back with the Red Sox,
Yeah,
well, what did he expect?
Yeah, well.
He got upset. Well, hey, Boomer, sorry. You know, we love you, but you really made a bad decision there.
Yeah, so I thought it would have been a nice little thing because, you know, those are powerful home runs. I still remember those.
Well,
It was just a great
you know,
thing. But it was a great ceremony.
You should reach out to SNY.
I was going to. I tried to Facebook Gary Cohen, but I can't find him on Facebook.
You could have made. That's why you need to be on Twitter. That's why you need to be on Twitter, right there. That perfect example.
Wow, yeah.
You could have impacted the ceremony.
I'm sure I could have.
Or the broadcast.
Or the broadcast. But it was a good day otherwise. Mets lost. And one thing, the other thing that people have been talking about, this is the second player only for the Mets to have a number retired.
Very true.
Who else on the Mets should maybe have their number, or be thought of as maybe having their number retired?
I'll be honest. Right now, nobody.
You wouldn't say Keith Hernandez?
No. Why?
Because he
had a few good years with the Mets.
He changed the whole level of the team.
That's not why you retire somebody's number.
Well,
you retire a number. I mean, the only guy I could even consider in the near future is David Wright. And I'm not even sure he deserves it. It almost becomes a point of, well, yeah, he's been a great player. I mean, David Wright is never going to make the Hall of Fame.
No, he would have if he didn't have these injuries.
Maybe. But
based on where he was going, yeah.
Well, but like, you know, Darryl Strawberry had some comments
well, that's where
a week
it sort
or two
of started,
ago.
Where he said he was curious why other people were wearing his number and Doc's number. And I'm saying, well, you know, I mean, nothing against
look
those
at the numbers.
two.
Look at, and when I say the numbers, look at the stats.
Right.
I mean, you know, was Darryl Strawberry a great player for the Mets? Yeah, he was, but then he left.
Right.
Then he went to the Dodgers, and you know, let's look at what his numbers were with the Mets. I mean, I don't have them right here because I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but you know, maybe we'll look them up during a commercial. But you know, look at Gooden. I mean, look at his career. Gooden doesn't even have 200 career wins.
Right.
So why do you retire somebody's number just because? I mean, were those two guys kind of the face of a franchise for a short time? Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
but so what?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys out there like that.
I'm wondering maybe you don't retire the number, but you have like a ring of honor like they have in other stadiums.
Well, that's mostly football, because the careers are shorter. But
you know,
I'm
not even talking about the plaques like they have in Yankee Stadium. Just some sort of thing. You know, I'm not saying have Benny Agbayani's number up there.
You just did.
I know. Well, I didn't.
Hopefully, you're kidding.
I was joking. But there were players. You know, Jerry Koosman. You know,
a long, great Met. Him, I wouldn't have a problem with because he was. I mean, he wasn't Tom Seaver, but he was real close.
Hey, if he had left the Mets right when Seaver did, because he was there. We'll look him up too. But his numbers. He's the reason the Mets won the World Series. He's the reason the Mets won the World Series. It wasn't Seaver.
Exactly. Well, it was both. But, I mean, you know, Koosman is a very underrated pitcher in his career.
Oh, definitely.
Just because Seaver was the face of the franchise.
Right.
And it's that history has a way of kind of eroding what some players do if they're not that face. And, you know, to me, you have to look at it. And I hate to frame Mets arguments around Yankees, because it's, you know, obviously Mets fans can't stand that. But look at some of the Yankees, the all-time great Yankees who have had their numbers retired.
Right.
They're career Yankees. I mean, that's why I'm kind of surprised.
Reggie was there for 5 years.
For the most part, I've said on this show that I disagreed with them retiring Reggie's number. He was there for 5 years, or barely 5 years. And that's why I'm a little bit surprised that they retired Piazza's number.
Right.
But he went into the Hall of Fame as a Met.
Right.
Because of that, yeah, all right, I don't have a problem with it. But obviously, he played a lot of years with the Dodgers and a lot of days with the Marlins. Yep. But you know, what happened after the Mets, I don't even worry about that, because a lot of players have gone to different places because they thought they had a little bit left, and the team that they were playing for obviously did. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are like that in history. But if you look at the overwhelming majority of Yankee retired numbers, those guys played. They were career Yankees.
Yeah, well, that was back then, though. You were a career.
Well, I'm even like I'll even throw Andy Pettitte in there, even though he went to Houston for a couple of years in between. But he came back to the Yankees and pitched a couple more years.
Right.
So it's almost like he reinforced the fact that, yeah, I am a Yankee, and this
would
is
be
what
nice.
I am.
You know, the Mets have been around for 50-some-odd years, and they have 2 players that deserve their numbers retired.
I hate to say it, but it's in some ways also an indictment of their player development system. I mean, you look at the teams that were great for the Mets, and especially with '86, the 2 most important guys on that team were Hernandez and Carter. Those were the guys that they brought in to basically teach the team how to win. You know, they developed, obviously, Lenny Dykstra and Wally Backman and Straw and Doc, but those guys they were there for a short time. Did they have a big impact? Absolutely, but they all left.
Right. I wonder if you know, I often wonder, will Keith Hernandez be put into the Hall of Fame?
I don't think he will.
But let's say he gets in Veterans Committee, let's say. You know, with some other players. Mazeroski obviously is in, but not for the reasons you think. Let's say he goes in. Does he go in as the Cardinals, or does he go as the Mets?
I would think at this point he probably would go in as a Met, only because the Mets are employing him currently.
I think he'd go in as a Met.
I think that would be part of it.
Because he's prouder as a Met than he was as a Cardinal.
I also think that it's not going to happen because of his past drug issues. And that
he wouldn't be the first guy to go in.
I understand that, but it's a significant thing. And I that's why I don't think he'd be considered. And I especially think that even if he was considered and somehow did get in, I think that's another reason why he would go in with the Mets, because his days with the Cardinals are tainted by the cocaine rumors.
Right. There's a lot of problems with that. So, but it would have been nice, you know. And one thing, you know, you think about 31, that was John Franco's number beforehand.
Right.
You know, John Franco was there for a long time too. You know, he has the numbers. He's not going to go to the Hall of Fame, but he has the numbers. He had a lot. He just wasn't a dominant player.
Relievers are tough, because you really have to be the best of the best.
And
Franco
wasn't the best.
Probably a top 20 closer all time.
I think so.
I'll put him there. But how much of that did he do before he was with the Mets? That's my point. A lot. And so many guys that have had impact in Mets history were somewhere else before they did it, and that's what I was talking about. But
Franco was a Met for a long time.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, obviously I'm not saying he wasn't, but where do you want to draw? The Mets seemingly have kind of put it in place that you need to be with us for a very long time and have had a very big impact with us. Because, I mean, obviously Seaver was not a career Met. They traded him.
They traded him.
But he always was identified with the franchise, even after he went to Cincinnati and he pitched for the White Sox.
Right.
Piazza is kind of the same way, because, yeah, he did some great things in L.A., but when push came to shove with the Dodgers, they didn't want to give him the money that he wanted, and then Piazza came to the Mets and really helped turn a franchise around at that point. So the Mets have been very exclusive with retiring their numbers, and I think that's a great thing. I think any team that retires too many numbers, and I could probably put the Yankees in there at some point.
The Yankees have been around for 100 years.
Yeah, but they've made some questionable decisions lately.
Should Billy Martin's number be retired? That's always been.
Well,
that's a George Steinbrenner thing too. Steinbrenner likes to retire the numbers.
Well, because he got a ceremony out of it. He got a sellout. It was a guaranteed sellout when they retired.
But also he likes the pomp and circumstance.
Because the Yankees do that better than anybody.
Right.
And it was an excuse for him to do it.
You're right. The Yankees, you know what? I watch old tournaments today for the Yankees because they know how to do this.
Yeah. And
the Mets used to have old timers. I don't know if they still do. For a while they called it legends.
I don't think they do, but maybe they do.
You know, if
they do, it's very underpublicized.
Yeah. But the Yankees know how to do it, and they've had a lot of players, and even the players that were like, you know, Graham Lloyd gets invited. But he had a couple. He had a couple of seasons. He's had a couple of good seasons.
He's a Yankee. He won a couple World Series.
So I was very happy otherwise with the whole ceremony with Piazza. I'm glad he went in as a Met. I'm glad the Mets retired his number. I'm glad he gave a good speech.
I'm glad they moved the numbers and actually gave them a position.
Johnny Franco didn't have to give up his number. You know.
Well, in a way, John Franco's number is now retired. So
in a way, he is.
He should be happy. But you know. Like I said, I think it's a good thing that the Mets move the numbers so that they're ring of honor, let's say, isn't obscured by advertising, and it's not just kind of an afterthought in the stadium. That it's now in kind of an exalted place in the stadium, and it's something that the fans they'll know where it is, they know where to look, and they'll know it's a very exclusive club.
Yeah, we all know the Mets seem sometimes to forget their history, though. That's something
they've been accused of that more than once, and most recently by Darryl Strawberry.
Yeah.
Maybe Ahmed Rosario is the next great Met to have his number retired. Who's playing in Double-A right now, for those of you who don't know.
We're going to take a break right now. You're listening to From the Press Box right here at 90.3 FM, WHPC. If you have a comment or question, give us a call, 516-572-7440.
For a different way to pay tribute to American veterans, consider this your formal invitation to attend Dr. G's Voices for Veterans.